What's up guys, I'm Jake.
And I'm Adam.
And we are Encounter Wargaming. And today we're going to be building an infinity table. So we've got our reinforced red veil buildings that you guys saw in our earlier terrain video, as well in our recent battle reports where we did the 5 missions from the red veil set. So Adam and I have decided to expand now to a 4x4 table. So we're going to be showing you guys basically how we're doing this and what materials we're going to use and the whole process we're going to go through, so that we can use it to use these buildings with it, as well hopefully expand in the future, create more buildings in the future, maybe if we pick up more sets, and add those to the table.
Yeah, because we quickly noticed that a 4x4 table is pretty big.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why we're sitting on the floor. It's because I couldn't fit a 4x4 table on my desk. So welcome to the floor of the studio here. And we're definitely going to need more buildings, aren't we?
Yeah, because with the red veil set, and we were actually given the buildings from an ice storm set, and we laid them both down on the flat 4x4, and it was really empty. So we're going to try and add some levels and stuff and make it a little more detailed, but I think we're still going to need some more buildings on top of this to finish this table completely.
So let's get into it. We'll show you the materials and the tools and the whole process. Hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, so these are the tools we're going to use, guys. We've got a hot glue gun to basically glue everything together. Of course, a skill knife, Sharpies, pencils, whatever you need to draw all your lines and everything. Measuring tape just to make sure all our measurements are on par. And then we've displayed here for you guys the red veil stuff, because basically we've used these as sort of our guide as how big to make flat areas so that we can fit these buildings with Adam's awesome template that he made there, so that they can pretty much be universal anywhere on the table. The final tools we basically need are a framing square. Will come in really in handy for this one. I found with doing walkways, and we've incorporated drainage ditches and that kind of stuff, so keeping everything square and straight is key for the appearance of the table. Of course, a giant ruler doesn't hurt either, because we are working with 2x2 sections. So on to the 2x2 sections. For the actual board itself, we were able to get this 1/4" MDF at Home Depot already in 2x2 sections, which was super handy. So we just got 4 of these, and that's our table. So then building on top of that, we've got 1/4" insulation foam. That's going to be sort of like our step layers that we're doing. And then for right now, just for these sort of fences around areas and stuff, we may build walkways and things like that with this as well. But this is 1/4" foam core. You can get this at any art store or dollar store or wherever you buy your craft supplies. And that's basically all you'll really need to do what we're doing today. So let's get into it.
So to start off by helping you guys get your brains wrapped around the concept we're looking at here, we've started by laying out our 4 pieces, our 4 2x2 sections into our 4x4 board, and just plan out where we kind of want our levels. So the idea here was that we wanted to make a table that was flat enough that we could still use all our terrain pieces wherever they may go, and still have variety from battle to battle. But also we wanted to make it a little bit more dynamic. So what we're actually going to do here is use the 1/2" and 1" insulation foam to create levels. So to start with, we decided to do sort of like irrigation ditches around, much like you'd have in like Los Angeles there, where they have, like, if anybody's seen Terminator 2, where they have that cool motorcycle scene there where they're running from the transport truck through the ditches there. So we kind of want to get that kind of concept where so basically we've drawn them out with permanent marker where our sort of water runoff ditches are going to go. And we decided on this width because it actually was perfect for putting the red veil buildings on either side, with the bridge still being able to reach from building to building. So that was how we came about that. And just so you guys know, if you want to do something similar, this is exactly 2 inches. You could do more or less. The only reason we chose that is simply because of these sidewalks that Adam added to these buildings. We may not be doing the same thing to the ice storm buildings just for versatility, but this is what we're working with now, and we still want to be able to use these in the meantime. So if you guys, Adam's zooming in a better look for you guys here, but we've drawn out sort of where the irrigation ditch, where the water runoff ditch is going to start. And so this is your ground level, and this is below ground level. And then what we're going to do is build levels on top of that.
mostly in the large areas where there's a large surface. We're going to create more levels, still hopefully being able to fit the buildings in. So to get back to what I was talking about, we've drawn the permanent marker line here to show the edge of the ditch, but what we're going to do, since we're adding the 1/2 inch foam on top, we've got these rough edges, which even painted will still look rough. So what we've decided to do is take the 1/4 inch foam core and just line everything with it. Now we've cut it just 5/8 of an inch higher than the 1/2 inch foam, because it'll be like sort of general railing height, but also with the red veil buildings, you can get a shot there, this nice little rim here actually provided just the right amount of cover for an infantry size model, and I believe Corvus Belli designed them that way on purpose. So that actually meant that even after we planned all this out, we had to take an extra 1/4 inch off every side of our pink piece to sort of fit this in. So that's what we've drawn out with pencil here, just to sort of give us our actual measurements of our pink piece, and then we're going to outline it with the black piece to sort of create that nice cover for various models that are running around the table. And that's more or less the concept. So we've obviously started by drawing everything out just kind of where we want it, and then we're just cutting out all our pieces here, cutting these into long strips so that afterwards we can just glue them on like that, cut them to size, glue them on, and then after we glue all those on, we're just going to stick them down to the board itself and go from there. So there you go. Okay, so before we actually start gluing these on, we wanted to show you guys the multi-level concept. So we've cut out all our 1/2 inch foam to fit the marker and pencil lines that we drew out already, that we showed you guys in the last shot. But then we kind of went over and just arbitrarily decided which large flat areas kind of needed a next level. So here we actually worked out that the cutoff from here got flipped pretty easily right there, which is great because it gives us just enough room for the ice storm buildings to fit in any given spot. Also, we wanted to make sure that even though we did the levels, that we would still have room for these buildings. So here we have room for them to go this way, same thing here. This spot is basically just large enough that we can fit this in. Because remember again guys, we're going to have this rim around the outside to sort of provide a cover very similar to this and these. Basically just to give, this is a civilian area, we wouldn't want people falling into ditches. And it'll give our guys some cover while we're playing, which is great. So, practical and nice looking. Cover the nasty edges of the foam. So, we're going to go over with you guys the measurements we've used. So in this case, we've decided to add basically 5/8 or roughly that amount to all of our thicknesses here. So in this case, we've got 1/2 inch foam with 1 inch foam. So we're basically adding 5/8 to that. I think actually we added 3/4, giving us 2 3/8. So we just cut strips of our 1/4 inch foam core to sort of cover the edge, like so. You kind of get a nice little rail around the outside so that people aren't falling off the edge. And also, we are going to do this around the outside of the board pieces as well, so that way they can be interchanged around. So if this flat side ends up going up against one of these ditches, there's not going to be like a rough edge. There's actually going to be a nice rail everywhere. So that's our thickest point, and that's our thickest measurement, 2 3/8. We decided for the rails there. Here, where we've doubled up the 1/2 inch, we decided to go up to 2 inches. Again, 1.5 inches up to 2 inches. We're kind of roughly adding, well, I guess that's a 1/2 inch, not a 5/8, but it basically just provides enough, again, so that my Hackers land models can get some cover from Adam's Yujing. And pretty much everywhere else where there's 1/2 inch, we just went to 1 3/8. So we've just cut, like I say, a bunch of these strips, and we're just going to basically cut them to length, hot glue them on to these foam pieces, and then glue down the foam pieces to the board. Now it's important that we put these on first, because once we put this in place, we want this to be flush with our MDF table. We don't want it overhanging, because otherwise when I flip this around and try to put it up against another piece, it'll actually make our board
you know, a 1/4 inch bigger or whatever. We don't want that. We want it to be nice and clean, especially because everything in Infinity seems to be all nice and clean edges. It's a nice feature, unlike the Grimdark. And that'll just create a nice aesthetic for the table as well. So we're creating multi-levels, cover everywhere. It's going to be very practical, and it's going to be beautiful by the time we're done. Okay, so we just wanted to give you guys a little example of what we're doing as we do this. Since you're not watching us do it, you know, the entire way through, we at least want to show you guys at least a little piece. So I've kind of got this raised area here done as an example. Basically all we've done is cut our foam core like I explained earlier, how we cut it into the various heights we needed based on how high each area should stick above the foam for that little bit of cover for all the guys everywhere. Basically now you're kind of just working piece by piece. I mean, I've got this little bit left on this tile to do, so I'm just going to finish by showing you guys. So all I've done here is take my, again, we just cut strips the height we needed. And this one I've already cut here. This I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it up. I mean, hold it up next to it, and then I can just kind of score where I want it with my X-Acto blade. That wasn't a very good score at all. There you go. And then, bam. That's that there. So all I'm going to do is take my hot glue, put a nice bead right across there, stick her on, now again it takes a second for this glue to dry, so you can just kind of, you got a little bit of time to move it around a little bit if you didn't quite get it flush, but not very much time. But you do have to kind of hold it on for a second until it dries. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. If I can get my gun to give me any glue. Okay, try that again. There we go. Just a nice bead across there. I'm just going to put a little bit along the edge here, because that's the edge that's going to butt up against my other foam core. And just like that. Again, I was a little bit off, so I just gave me that last second to slide it that way a little bit. And then just kind of push it in place until the glue kind of hardens. And that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. I'm just going to go around the last two sides now, and then once our four sides are on, I'm just going to take the hot glue, run it all across here, and glue it directly onto the MDF table. The reason we've decided to put the border on first is mainly just because of the outside edges, because we actually wanted to make sure, even though our pencil lines are pretty accurate, they're not 100% accurate. So we wanted to make sure that this foam core here is actually flush with the end of the MDF piece, just so when we're butting it up against another piece, especially if there's a wall that comes right to the end, we don't want them to conflict with each other. We want them to be able to butt right up against each other. Like that, right? And that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. And so we're just going to keep going across all these pieces and gluing them down just like this. And hopefully we'll have a beautiful table to show you. Alright, so here's our table so far, guys. So basically we have just done the basic levels and the sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, fences, I guess, or barriers around those levels. Sort of just to prevent people from, A, falling into these ditches, but also providing a little bit of cover for the infantry models, as you see here that we've displayed. So this pretty much provides, actually looks like providing a little more cover than the red veiled boxes, but due to our awesome cuts, a couple of these walls are a little bit inconsistent, but no worries there, because once you paint all this stuff, it's just going to look spectacular. So feel free to go crazy with this, guys. Like, get creative, do any kind of layout that you wish. This is just what we did, and literally we just came up with this by drawing some pencil lines on the table before we even started cutting any foam. So it's completely arbitrary. We just kind of did it as we felt appropriate. So
We have built these though to fit our existing pieces of terrain, as I believe I've mentioned earlier in this video. So if you can see here, we have the red veil pieces set up with just enough space to be able to fit one of these walkways. We actually designed it so that these buildings, actually maybe I'll just move it for you now, can actually go this way and still be able to connect the walkways over these drainage ditches that we have come up with. So that's pretty cool, right? And then with just enough room to fit the ice storm buildings in these kinds of spots as well. So we kind of anticipated that as we were building it, and you guys can do the same thing. Also, right now this is all we're going to do for the basics, but our next step in our next video is going to be adding details. So if you see here, we've marked out some areas with permanent marker here. So this, we would intend to cut this ridge out, as well as here, cut these walls out so we can have a bridge running across there. We've also planned some areas for staircases, like here. You can possibly put one. If you want to pan over here, we've actually already cut one out. So we're going to put some foam core steps there, because this is kind of a large jump for an infantry model to jump up. Of course, we want to have some steps, because in Infinity you can't just levitate, you have to actually climb ladders and stairs. So we're hoping to incorporate some of that kind of stuff. And hopefully we will be building more buildings for this in the future. You're not seeing all the buildings we have right now. We actually have quite a few, but we have enough at this point that I think we can get a pretty good table going with this. So, oh, the width of the bridges, I should comment on that. We've decided to be able to fit 2 of these 55mm bases. Also, in case in the future we decide to use this table for 40K, this is actually wide enough to be able to fit a Rhino or a Lehman Russ or any of those kinds of tanks, as well as, I believe these are the largest bases in Infinity as far as my knowledge, so even if they're not, if I can fit 2 of them, I should be able to fit 1 of whatever the largest base is. And that makes them as versatile as possible, as interchangeable as possible. We want this table to be very detailed, but also not be static. We want it to change with every battle. I've already discussed with you guys when we were laying this out in the beginning the width we chose for these channels here for the water runoff. It's actually just big enough to fit a 40mm base. You can actually fit a couple of infantry guys side by side in there, so that's great, providing them some cover. Can you even see them with the camera? Providing them nice cover. And yeah, so if you guys want to check out the next video, we're going to be adding all the details to this table, bridges, stairs, any other little details that we sort of come up with in the next little while. And so if you want to see that, please hit subscribe. Also, check us out on Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So until our next encounter.
Like a monkey